What's up, guys? Farzine Vasugian here with you for another episode of the Chief Zone podcast. Appreciate you guys joining me live on Facebook and YouTube. And for all of you who are listening to the archive version, whether it is on Facebook or YouTube or on Apple, Spotify, anywhere where you can download and listen to a podcast, greatly appreciate all of you guys taking time to tune in, download, all that good stuff, making the Chief Zone podcast part of your day. Some things to go over here on this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. Obviously, we'll be going over the game between the Chiefs and the Chargers, previewing it, that is. Going to talk about the line, some of the injuries that the Chargers are dealing with, and what can the Chiefs do in this football game? Can the Chiefs make it a two-possession game, or is it going to be another close one here? A lot of talk about the Chiefs and their struggles in covering the spread, and specifically Travis Kelce and the struggles that he's had so far. We'll talk about that. Kareem Hunt, he has now been elevated to the Chiefs 53-man roster and is expected to play on Sunday. How much playing time will he get? What is his outlook going to look like this week for the football game against the Chargers? Very curious to see how that goes. And I do want to react a little bit to Monday Night Football. I know we're doing more Monday podcasts now, so we didn't have an opportunity to go over the Monday Night Football doubleheader, and there are a couple of headlines from that night that I definitely think are worth talking about here on this podcast. So a lot of things to go over here on this episode of the Chief Zone podcast. Appreciate you guys joining me once again. I see a lot of you guys coming in on the Facebook and the YouTube pages, so appreciate you guys who are tuning in live. Please comment, ask anything. We'll make it a conversation as we go throughout the night here on this episode of the Chief Zone podcast. A lot of things to go over here, and let's start talking about Travis Kelce here, because this is getting a lot of attention. This is starting to get a lot more conversation. You're seeing a lot of people in the national media talk about it. Andy Reid continues to get asked about this more and more, about Travis Kelce's slow start. And Travis Kelce addressed this on his podcast today. Well, I mean, it came out today, but I think they record on a Tuesday or maybe even a Monday, or maybe not a Monday, because Jason Kelce does Monday Night Football now, but it was recorded maybe Monday afternoon or Tuesday, when the Chiefs are usually off practice. That's usually when, if you have a Sunday game, but neither here nor there. A lot of people are talking about Travis Kelce and his struggles with the Chiefs right now. And what is the situation at hand here? Why is Travis Kelce in this situation? Does it have to do with his age? A lot of people are pushing back against that. He certainly did not look slow in training camp this year with the Chiefs. Certainly no signs of regression there. Was able to go full speed and practice with the team. This is one that's being brought up. Are there any distractions for Travis Kelce? Oh, here we go. By the way, Grotesquerie gonna be airing tonight, 9 Central on FX. I believe it's 9 Central, right? So I made a point to do this podcast before that. I got a lot of TV to watch tonight. I got Survivor, I got The Challenge, Grotesquerie. Probably not my cup of tea, but I'm watching anyway because of Travis Kelce. I also got to watch that Vince McMahon special on Netflix. I'm already hearing a lot of crazy things about it. I know they push back. That's going to be an interesting one for sure, but a lot of TV watching tonight. But the distractions, are there distractions? What could people be alluding? What could they possibly be alluding to with those distractions? Can you guys help me out? What are the alleged distractions here? Oh yeah, Taylor Swift. You know what's so funny to me? Look, I'm going to take a moment here, and I did not have plans to talk about this, but his relationship, and he went and followed Taylor in her international tours, and it's just like, he's being supportive for her because she took a lot of time. I think she had a concert in Tokyo, Japan, and the one day she had off was on a Sunday, and she would come to Vegas to go watch Travis and the Chiefs play in the Super Bowl, and then would go immediately back to the rest of her tour. She found a way to include the Chiefs in her very, very busy schedule. So the way I see it is Travis Kelce his offseason, which, by the way, it is called the offseason. The NFL players, they do have an offseason indeed. He spent a lot of time with her and supporting her in her tours, in her international tour, that is. It's the offseason, man. Listen, you know what, a lot of people don't realize this. A lot of athletes travel in the off season. We just don't hear about it as, like, we don't hear about Justin Reed traveling. Justin Reed, if you look at his Instagram, it looked like he had some international vacations. I guarantee you, Justin Reed, given his profession as a professional athlete, even on vacation, is out there training or finding a gym to work out at. That's what these athletes do. They always try to figure out a way to work that into their schedule, which gym they can go to, and so on there. And I think you saw in some off-season clips, Travis Kelce has been training. It's not like hey, let's just go support Taylor at every single concert and not worry about anything else that exists on planet Earth. No, he's been out there training and doing all these things. And Andy Reid kind of just goes back to, well, he's been facing a lot of double teams from defenses this year, and he has been. But I think the thing that a lot of people kind of get thrown off by, and by the way, a lot of people are talking about how the Chiefs offense, what is going on with the Chiefs offense? The Chiefs offense not looking good, and they're not playing up to the level that we expect them to. But I'm just kind of looking around here, and do I think the Chiefs offense can be better? Absolutely. But I think a lot of people are just kind of forgetting this team's not doing that bad. Offensively speaking, I mean, look, they're tied with the Packers, 7th for points per game. Now, through the first 3 weeks of last year, they had 26 points per game. First 2 games were kind of pretty quiet, under 20 points per game. Then that number kind of inflated when they played the Chicago Bears. Remember that the Taylor Swift debut while we're bringing her up. So, Kansas City, as far as points per game goes, they've played much better these first 3 weeks collectively compared to last year. Last year, their points per game average there is higher through 3 weeks than it was this year by 1 point, but that's because of that 41-point game on Chicago. And again, we kind of went over this Sunday night after the Chiefs beat the Falcons, and it's that you're going to get every team's best shot. You just will. There are a lot of people out there that don't want the Chiefs to repeat. Think of all the times that Tom Brady and the Patriots lost. I've gone over this many times because a lot of people out there are already comparing the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes to Tom Brady and the Patriots, Michael Jordan and the Bulls. You're getting a lot of these comparisons now, more and more with Patrick Mahomes. I think a lot of people in years past said, wait a minute, pump the brakes here. Mahomes has only got 2 Super Bowls. Well, now he's got 3 and he's looking to three-peat. So I think these comparisons are warranted now. So every single thing that happens with the Chiefs is under a microscope. So when Travis Kelce's going out there with Taylor Swift in the offseason, people, wait a minute, he spent all this time in the offseason traveling internationally with her. He must be distracted, or this must be having some sort of an impact. I've also seen this on the internet, and I can't believe I'm addressing this, but we kind of have to an extent. People think that Patrick and Travis, they're not connecting because Patrick's wife and Travis's girlfriend disagree politically. Can you guys just say that out loud to yourself? And no, seriously, say that out loud to yourself. The reason Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are not connecting much in these first 3 games is because Travis's girlfriend and Patrick's wife, they disagree politically. Do you know how stupid you sound saying that? Seriously, how stupid does that come off? That, they disagree politically. That's why we're not saying shut up. No. Look, let me just say this about Patrick Mahomes, because ever since he's joined the Chiefs, obviously his superstar power just like rose through the roof and everything. And, everyone wanted to follow Patrick and everything going on around him. So a lot of people started following his wife. People saw Brittany. Well, at the time it was his girlfriend. People noticed Brittany next to him at all these games. People weren't sure, is that a sister or girlfriend? Who is that? But eventually we got to know the Mahomes family a little more. People follow Jackson, whether they like him or not. People are following him. That's just the truth. Even Mahomes' mom, dad, and some of the other family members, half sister. I believe he has 2 half sisters, so they're getting a lot. They have social media and they get followed from that as well. So a lot of people that are connected with Mahomes, and the reason I'm bringing this up here is because. Look, I want to stay in my lane because this has nothing to do with me, or nor is it any of our business. But I think anyone who has social media has seen tweets from Brittany Mahomes and Randy Mahomes, and people were like, "Wait a minute, what could they possibly be tweeting?" Basically, my point is they've made it very clear at times there might have been some family drama. Okay, I don't know what, and again, I don't care. It's none of my business. But why am I bringing it up? Because there were times when Patrick would struggle and people would try to correlate that to tweets from family members and people wondering if that's connecting to Mahomes struggling on the field. It's like, listen, man, again, this goes back to my point again, where whatever you see with Patrick or Travis Kelce right now with his very slow start, people are always going to put it under a microscope here. And people are going to be zooming in very closely on it too, because, he ran the wrong route. Well, this is because he's distracted from all of his offseason hoopla. Okay, calm down, buddy. But anyway, Andy Reid, he pushed back against this narrative in his press conference. So, look, if the Chiefs could figure out all their bullshit from last year with the offense and the drops, they can figure it out this year. No question about it. I think the one important thing is to focus this back on football. Rashee Rice, obviously having a phenomenal season. He's number 1 in the NFL in receptions, number 1 in yards after the catch, number 2 in receiving yards, and number 3 in first down catches this year in the NFL. Obviously a phenomenal start from Rashee Rice. And look, it's part of it, the Chiefs relying on him more because Hollywood Brown's not available, perhaps. But I think something very important to keep in mind about Rashee Rice right now is Travis Kelce is off to a slow start. Xavier Worthy, he looked great in that first game, but he only had 3 touches. So that, very small sample size. Since then, Xavier Worthy has been very, very quiet, if we're being honest. And I know it's only 2 games, but look, he's a rookie. He's going to pick it up. It's funny. I got a tweet from a Bills fan comparing Xavier Worthy's numbers to who's the wide receiver that the Bills drafted? It wasn't Ladd McConkey. He went to the Chargers. Keon Coleman, that's who it was. And I'm getting this comparison. It's like, first of all, you're missing the rushing stats because Xavier Worthy has ran the ball a couple of times. So you're obviously excluding that. But settle down a bit because Travis Kelce is going to get going. I mean, there's no way he doesn't. You know who else is going to get going? Xavier Worthy. And here's what I think could allow Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy to start getting involved more. Because defenses, as Andy Reid has alluded to, and he's right about this, defenses are closing in on Travis Kelce. Defenses are not letting Travis Kelce get free very often. So what could be maybe the solution to stopping the Chiefs? Well, they might try to stop Rashee Rice and focus on him more instead of Travis Kelce. Oh, wait a minute. If you're going to double team Rashee Rice, well, then that does open up the door for Travis Kelce. That does open up the door for Xavier Worthy. So those guys are going to start to get more involved as the season goes on here. Which, again, it's extremely unfortunate that Hollywood Brown is dealing with the injury he's dealing with, as well as Isaiah Pacheco, because this would, even if Travis Kelce was very quiet, well, you could just say, oh, well, Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, they're doing their thing. But no, right now it's kind of been a one-man show in terms of all the skill position players. It's been Rashee Rice that's kind of helping this offense, kind of the leader of this offense. But I think eventually Travis Kelce will get going. And I think part of it is going to be because of Rashee Rice. He's going to start getting a lot more attention from defenders. He's definitely going to attract all of that attention. And I think that'll also help Xavier Worthy get going very soon. And here's the other part of it too that I think is going to allow Worthy and Kelce get more involved. Look, this is Andy Reid's offense. I don't need to educate you guys on his offense and what he can do and what past players have done in order to succeed in his offense. You guys don't know the story. Andy Reid's going to figure it out. There's no way he doesn't. I mean, he's been around the game for a very long time to know what works and what doesn't work. Does he get it right every single time? No, of course not. But Andy Reid will find a way to get Kelce open and also get Xavier Worthy in that open space there. And I think, to circle us back with the offensive struggles, if you will, because I don't think the offense is that terrible when you look at the grand scheme of things. And again, I still think they have room to improve to hit their potential. Patrick Mahomes' decision-making has got to be better. So I think if you focus on all of that, I know it sounds like a lot, but again, this is Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce we're talking about here. You all saw what happened last year and how it all ended. So if they can figure it out last year, and they can figure it out in 2021, I know the Chiefs didn't win the Super Bowl in 2021, but they were what? They were 1-2 to start the season, and then 3-4, and Mahomes was leading the NFL in interceptions. Well, then what happened? They went on a surge, won the AFC West, and reached the AFC title game, an overtime period away. And a lot of people just kind of look at, and this has been brought up recently because of Joe Burrow's struggles, that Burrow's only big highlight was the AFC title game, and that was more Mahomes struggling than Burrow doing much to lead his team in that game. So when you look at all of these situations here with the Chiefs, they'll figure it out. 100% they'll figure it out. Where did I get this hat? Corey's asking. This is from the Independence Day. This is one of my favorite hats, man. I love it. I really do. I got this from the Independence Day for baseball. You know what's really good? I'm not like a big baseball guy, but what's really nice is on the back of it, it just says Kansas City. So I'm not a big Royals fan, so it doesn't say Royals, and I would still wear it either way. But because of the logo, a lot of people don't. This is obviously a Royals logo, not a Chiefs logo, but you can still wear it for any occasion. I wear this a lot for Chiefs games. So this is one of my favorite hats, man. I love USA themed apparel. I know that might make me look like I lean a certain way politically, which I hate. I just think is stupid. But yeah, to answer your question, that was from 2 years ago, but I've seen, what's that place called? Rally House. I've seen this on Rally House's website, so look it up on their website. Hopefully you'll be able to find it on there. All right, let's switch gears and talk about another Ohio native, Kareem Hunt. He was signed to the Chiefs 53-man roster. He's been elevated from the practice squad. Keontae Ingram was waived. He is a free agent now, so he's free to return to Kansas City and be a member of their practice squad again. But Kareem Hunt, he is now on the 53-man roster and will make his Chiefs debut in his second stint this Sunday. Kareem Hunt spoke to the media today, and he kind of said the things I was saying too. Like, it's still like hasn't hit him that, he's back here, kind of feels surreal and all of that, which certainly makes sense. So it's very cool to see Kareem Hunt back in Kansas City. He certainly looks happy to be back here. He said, things that a lot of other people have said, is that he never thought he would be back in this position again. So obviously very fortunate and very thankful, you can tell, of his second opportunity. He talked about how young he was, made some very stupid decisions, has done the work, and has tried to mature and be better about that. And listen, we've gone over the incident at nauseum, so I'm not going to go over it here. I think, we've covered it plenty, and Kareem Hunt kind of talked about, what he's tried to do over time. Yeah, I see you guys in the comments here, just excited about the potential here with Kareem Hunt. Because, when Kareem Hunt was away, who replaced him? Well, they had Damian Williams for a little bit, but they wanted to draft someone, so they got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Clyde Edwards-Helaire did not live up to expectations, but still has been a part of multiple Super Bowls with the Chiefs. They draft Isaiah Pacheco. He's been a huge part of this offense. Maybe that doesn't get talked about a lot outside of Kansas City, but he's been a big focal part of this Chiefs offense, leading the rushing attack there. And I think people have kind of wondered, maybe Kareem Hunt from afar kind of thought, hey, maybe that should be me right there. And now Kareem Hunt is back in the fold here, and he's going to be teaming up with guys like Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire whenever they return. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's with the team now, so he's expected to possibly be on the 53-man roster at some point, I would imagine. I'm not sure what the corresponding move would be and what they would do with Samaje Perine once Isaiah Pacheco returns. But for right now, you have Kareem Hunt and you have Carson Steele. I see a lot of you guys talking about Kareem Hunt and Carson Steele teaming up together here, and what that duo could look like. Donnie says Kareem Hunt is 6 years older. Took a pounding in Cleveland. Yeah, I mean, Cleveland's all sorts of interesting. I'll leave it at that. I will leave it at that. So to see Kareem Hunt kind of back here, and he said, I'm excited to go out there. He's hungry. Made it very clear that he is hungry and wants a championship after missing out on this dynasty. So he's got that opportunity, which is great. And he also said he's ready to go out there and shock the world and let people know he still has it, which I can understand. Like that mentality for a running back. The running back position is so different today in the NFL. It's not like how it was, 15, 20 years ago, where you saw running backs in their 30s still playing at a very high level. Those times have changed, and the offenses are very different today. Passing is down in the NFL. I'm sure you guys have heard that millions of times. So if there was ever a time to really roll the dice and bring in a running back in their late 20s, why not Kareem Hunt, given the injuries that you've got going on your football team and the familiarity that he has, and also giving him a second chance in trying to right the ship here with what he did in the past. So it's interesting to see what the Chiefs offense is going to look like. I said this earlier this week, but I'll say it on here. I don't know how much we see Kareem Hunt in Sunday's game. I think he'll play. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if he's going to start. And if I'm completely wrong about this, I will bring it up on Sunday's podcast when we do the Chiefs Zone after the game. But I think he'll get sprinkled in there. My guess is he's going to have probably anywhere from 10 to 15 snaps on offense, and we'll probably get, give or take, 5-6 touches total in this game. Because I think, again, you gotta look, last week was Kareem Hunt's training camp. Okay, he didn't have a training camp. He was still recovering, sitting on the couch waiting for a team to call him. Last week was Kareem Hunt's training camp. I think this Sunday, and I'm not, saying, no, the Chargers are a weak team. No, not at all. Even though they're dealing with a lot of injuries. And I see, John, your question about Justin Herbert, we'll get to that. I think this is going to be a preseason game for him, where he goes out there and gets a couple of touches. I don't think he's going to really get involved a whole lot. If he, on his first touch, whether it's a carry or a catch, if he just goes off 20, 30, 40 yards, it's like, okay, all right, let's, you keep using him more. But I'm not really expecting too much from Kareem Hunt. I think the way the Chiefs are playing this is let him go out there, kind of like a preseason game, get involved for a few snaps, and then set him up for his big return to Arrowhead. And the nice part about the next Chiefs game, not to look too far ahead, is the Chiefs do play on Monday Night Football, so they have an extra day. They can meet Monday, they can meet Tuesday. Wednesday is going to be their off day, and then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is going to be the install, and Sunday is just going to be a basic walkthrough. So, and then they'll play Monday Night Football at Arrowhead. So I think that's like the perfect way to kind of ease Kareem Hunt back into the fold here. Because I think there's going to be a lot of anticipation. Not that the Chiefs are trying to do this build up for Monday Night Football. I mean, it's just the way the scheduling and the timing of everything happened here. But I think that's how it's going to work out here. He'll play a little bit on the road in LA, and then his more significant return where he gets involved more will be that Monday Night Football game against the Saints. That is my prediction in how I see things panning out, and how I see Kareem Hunt getting involved for his first couple of games back with the Chiefs. It's still shocking to me. Listen, the crazy thing is I've always been the guy that's pushed back against, because the topic does come up a lot over the years, or has came up over the years. And then last Monday, I was like, look, I think they got to do it. I think it's time to let the past be the past, talk things out, and make sure, do their due diligence, all that stuff, and bring them back. And that's exactly what happened. So good to see him back in Kansas City. I do want to touch a little bit on the Monday Night Football doubleheader we had as the Bills steamrolled the Jaguars. Listen, I'm a huge fan of Doug Peterson. Obviously, his ties to Kansas City and everything, but I really loved what he did in Philadelphia when he lost Carson Wentz, who's now with the Chiefs, and Nick Foles, a former Chiefs quarterback. The magical run they had in the playoffs, going out there and winning the Super Bowl there. But unfortunately, it didn't last very long, as Doug Peterson was let go by the Eagles. I think in 2020 was his last year. He took a year off for personal reasons, and then he got hired by the Jaguars after they had a really weird experience there with Urban Meyer, not even a full season with him. And Trevor Lawrence got off to a really slow start after all of that hype he had coming out of the draft. But I just kind of wonder. I just wonder, man, like, is Doug Peterson the problem here? I mean, I thought he was really turning things around. What was it? I think it was 2 years ago. They went on a very big run after a 3-6 start, and they stole the division from the Titans on that Saturday game. That was the same night where the Chiefs beat the Raiders, and they did that the snow globe play. I was about to say merry go around play, but yeah, the snow globe play is what they called it. And that same night, the second game on that Saturday for Week 18 was Titans Jags, and I thought the Titans were going to win it. And the Jaguars, they beat the Titans, and they stole that division title that the Titans should have won. So, a lot of people felt like that was going to be the turning point for the Jaguars, but they just never really figured it out after that. And I just kind of wonder, I'm not suggesting like a quarterback switch, because you pay all these quarterbacks and they're making a lot of money and you're kind of stuck with them for a few years. But I just wonder if Doug Peterson's days are numbered in Jacksonville. I hope I'm wrong, because I like Doug Peterson, what he did in Kansas City and also in Philadelphia. But it's not Kansas City anymore. It's not Philadelphia anymore. You're in Jacksonville, and Trevor Lawrence, his progress in the NFL has been, it just hasn't really picked up. It really hasn't. He's been a solid quarterback, but for a number one pick, you're expecting a hell of a lot more. And I think there's a lot to figure out with the Jaguars. The other Monday Night Football game. See, I thought the second Monday Night Football game would have been a blowout, and the first one would have been a closer game. And I thought the Bengals would have blown out Washington. No, Jaden Daniels. My God, Mickey's asking, did the ref practice for the Chiefs? Yes, I do have very good information here. The referees, we'll get to the referees later on, but yes, Sean Smith was there in practice. I believe he got his Venmo from Taylor Swift, and also his kids were promised, front row at the next Taylor Swift concert. So yeah, we're at that stage now with this conversation. But the Bengals here, Jaden Daniels, my God. What a night. Dude just balled out. It just seemed like he never threw an incompletion. I mean, he did, but does anyone remember his incompletions in this game? I don't even think the Bengals remember. If you told the Bengals defense, they'd be like, oh, an incompletion. We don't recall that. The dude was just throwing dimes in this football game. So big ups to Washington, because you look at the division leaders right now. Some of the division leaders are very surprising to a lot of people out there. The Vikings are leading their division right now in the North. The Commanders, they're tied for first place with the Eagles. The Steelers leading the North, that a lot of people probably did not expect. They thought it'd be the exact opposite in that division right now. Got a couple of surprising leaders here to start off. So Look, I think when you look at what happened Monday night though with the Bengals, whew, um, boy, listen, I'll tread lightly here. I'll be nice. I'll be nice. Um, but I got to be honest here. And I saw Shannon Sharp, and I said this the night before Shannon Sharp said it. And you guys can ask my friend Eddie Law. He's done some podcasts here. He will back me up on this. But the Cincinnati Bengals, their players and their fan, I know the fan base doesn't have any impact, but come on, it's part of the narrative sometimes. The fans talked a lot of shit, and obviously in the offseason they were doing the 3-1 head-to-head record, which I'm sure they're not doing anymore. The Burrowhead thing, they're not doing that anymore. All the talk about how their team is great and how they're going to be great, they're not doing that anymore either. I mean, this Bengals team did a lot of talking about how they're the team to beat in the AFC and how Xavier Worthy can't run a vertical route. Okay, I mean, you got that one-handed pick on him. That's cool. They're really cool, in fact. But you didn't win that game. And then you talked about how Washington runs a college offense. Well, that college offense just whipped your ass. Pretty convincingly, too. Like, it wasn't just one drive, two drive. Like, they scored on every drive. One was a field goal. Every other drive was a touchdown drive. Like, and by the way, why are you talking? The only team that has any room to talk are the Chiefs. Okay, maybe not right now because they've got some weird things going on offense, but they're the team that's won the Super Bowl back-to-back year. They're not going out there talking shit and disrespecting their opponents each week. I mean, they're just not doing that. Even Justin Reed, he made a comment once. Coincidentally, we're talking about the Bengals ahead of the Chiefs Bengals game in 2022 in the regular season. Justin Reed made a comment saying, "Yeah, I can cover their tight ends." Andy Reid was pissed about that. Like the Chiefs, and again, this is like PR training stuff, but every team has that. The Chiefs have been taught to just be mature and be professional when being asked about another thing. Notice how Andy Reid, you guys all know this already. Notice how Andy Reid, no matter who they're playing, it could be the worst team in the NFL. Andy Reid will get on the mic and will say, "I'm looking forward to the challenge of playing whoever." Even if they're like they have the worst record in the NFL, he'll just be like, "Yeah, they've got some really good players. Their record does not indicate who they are. They play teams very tough." Even though like half that stuff is bullshit, that's just what you do as a head coach. Andy Reid's been around the game 20 some odd years as a head coach, so he knows. So his players, there's a reason why the worst level of trash talk you've ever heard from Kansas City prior to a game was, "Oh, yeah, I can cover their tight end," by Justin Reid. That's it. That's like the worst thing a Chiefs player has said. Now, after the game, they'll do some talking. We know Travis has done some of that, Chris Jones as well. But there's nothing wrong with that. You've earned that afterwards. But this Bengals team, I'm not going to write them off yet, but I am going to say this. All of the Bengals fans that were pushing back against a lot of Bengals fans were crucifying Adam Schefter for trying to even just indicate that there's some drama in not Buffalo, in Cincinnati. Dude, I don't know, man. People are making a huge deal about Burrow following Zach Taylor to a private meeting right after the game, which is very unheard of. No, we've never seen that before. Listen, I've been to many locker rooms in the past. I've never seen a quarterback go with a head coach go privately talk somewhere. That is very odd. Everybody goes straight to the locker room right after the game. I've never seen that before. So I do think that is a talking point that needs to be addressed here. But and listen, I thought, the offense did get going a little more in this game. I think Joe Burrow has done a good job of silencing any of the doubters about his wrist, and Jamar Chase getting involved more now. T. Higgins coming back certainly helps, but you're 0-3. And I think it's gut check time in Cincy. Again, I'm not writing them off yet, but if I had to bet, are they going to make the playoffs? No. And here's the big reason why. You have yet to play your division. You're 0-3 to start the first 3 weeks, and you've yet to play your 6 divisional opponents. And if I'm not mistaken, they went 1-5 in the division, and that one win was in week 18 when the Browns rested all their starters because I think they had the number 4 seed locked up and they could not go, or number 3 or number 4, whatever it was, cannot go up or further. No, the Chiefs had a 3 seed. I don't know what seed the Browns had. I'm sorry. They were a wild card team now that I think of it. But anyway, my point is they rested their starters, and that's the only time the Bengals won, was essentially a meaningless preseason game in week 18. The defenses that they're going to be facing, no pushovers here. I think Cleveland with Myles Garrett in that Cleveland defense, I know the offense has some question marks. That's no pushover defense. The Steelers have the best defense I'm obsessed with the Steelers. That defense is scary, like scary good. I'm actually scared of that defense on Christmas. Now, there's a lot of time between now and Christmas, but that is definitely one that, the Chiefs have got to be ready for, because there's a possibility they could face the Steelers twice this year. And that defense is really, really damn good. Pretty scary good. And then the Ravens, they're kind of picking things up here. If it wasn't for that fourth quarter collapse, they'd be 2-1. So that Ravens defense knows what they're doing as well. Better figure it out. You thought the Bengals were going to be competition this year. Not the case. Not the case at all. In fact, a lot of the competition you're seeing right now, a lot of teams you were not expecting, not one bit. Football season is here now, and if you guys want to check out the Chiefs, the Jayhawks, the Wildcats, the Tigers, or any other NFL or college football team, you can do so by getting your tickets through SeatGeek. I like SeatGeek because they keep you very honest. Anytime they have their ticket prices listed, they'll put a green dot next to ticket prices that are worth spending money on, and if resellers have ticket prices listed too high, they'll put a red dot next to those ticket prices, so definitely avoid those tickets. And by the way, for those of you that are looking for a little extra bonus here, I have a promo code you can use if you're a first-time customer of SeatGeek. Enter my promo code FARZINE at checkout, and you will save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com, pick your tickets, and at checkout, new customers can put in my promo code FARZINE and save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. I'll answer a couple questions here before we move on here. Gwen's asking, what do I think of Buffalo? I think they're the best team in the NFL right now. Look, my power rankings are coming out tomorrow. Spoiler alert, the Chiefs are not going to be number 1 this time. They're not. I mean, I would be lying to you guys if I said the Chiefs are the number 1 team. Buffalo, I think, is the best team in the NFL right now. Listen, and we've seen Buffalo in this position before where they kind of just fade away in January. But for right now, I do think they're the best team in football. I think this is the best Josh Allen has looked. I think that might be why things look a little different with Buffalo this time. And I know that's been said before. Oh, this time they look better. But this is the best Josh Allen's looked. I've always been very critical of Josh Allen and his hefty turnovers. And I've always said, I think Mahomes is number 1, no question about it. I've always said Burrow's 2 and that there's a big gap between 1 and 2, but I've always said there's a very close gap between 2 and 3 with Burrow and Josh Allen. But I've just got to say it. I do think right now, I do think Josh Allen has moved ahead of Joe Burrow to be the second best quarterback in the NFL, the best quarterback not named Patrick Mahomes. So I've got nothing but good things to say about this Buffalo team. Chase says, who do you think is the team to beat on our schedule this season? The team to be, I just got done praising the Steelers. I don't know what they're going to look like in 3 more weeks with that offense, but that defense is kind of carrying them for right now. I thought, the Saints were going to be that team. I know they took a little bit of a step back. It's always hard to judge after 2 weeks because you don't know who's real, who's not. After 3 weeks, you have a little bit of a better understanding. But I do think the Saints are a top tier team. I think the Saints and the Steelers are teams that you got to definitely think about. The Texans as well. But I think the team to beat on the schedule, 100% Buffalo. Kind of going back to Gwen's question. about what I think of the Bills. I think they're the best team in the NFL, and they are on Kansas City's schedule this year. So the Chiefs are going to be going on the road to Buffalo on Sunday, November the 17th, week 11. So that will be a huge game for sure. By the way, if you guys told me before the season, the Bengals game, both Chargers game, well, I take that back. One of the Chargers games is not, but both Raiders games. I know one of the Raiders games is a nationally televised game, but it's on a Friday afternoon on Prime Video. I think both Broncos games are not nationally televised. I mean, we'll see about week 18. I mean, the Bills, the 49ers, none of those games are primetime games. Like, how do you not do that? Ravens on primetime, yeah, makes sense. But the 49ers, like a Super Bowl rematch, is not on primetime TV. It's like the Chiefs' primetime schedule has been weird. They've got NFC South teams. They got the Falcons, the Saints, the Bucks. Like, I don't know, man. I said this when the schedule release happened. Like, the schedule is not that exciting when it comes to primetime games. I don't want to play the Falcons or the Saints or the Bucks. Like, if Tom Brady was still on the Bucks, yeah, I get it. But I don't know, man. Yeah, Michael says flex it. Yeah, I mean, they might, but dude, I don't know. Like, how did I understand? Like, not every single primetime game is two fierce rivals. Sometimes you get like I remember the Chiefs played the Washington Redskins, now the Commanders, in 2017. That was Harrison Butker's debut, and it's like, why the Commanders? Why do you play them on Monday Night Football? That made no sense. So sometimes you get these random teams paired up on prime time that you don't really understand why. Like Monday night, the Commanders and the Bengals. Like, what Commanders fan or what Bengals fan looks forward to that prime time? I mean, the week and the day of, you're excited. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, yeah, why them? Why them? It was a little weird. But anyway, I digress. Let's get right into it. The Chiefs and Chargers breakdown and prediction for Sunday afternoon. This will be on CBS. Everyone's favorite announcers, Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, will be announcing this game. You could detect the sarcasm there. The line for this one, Chiefs 7.5 from DraftKings, did start at 8, and it has now dropped to 7 in favor of the Chiefs. The over-under on this is 40. I believe it was 39.5 earlier this week as well. So that has changed a little bit. Now it's up to 40 here. The referee for this one, a.k.a. the 12th man for the Kansas City Chiefs, is Sean Smith. So for all of you non-Chiefs fans, if you want to bitch and moan in advance, you can already go ahead and blame Sean Smith for the game. Head coach for the Chargers in his first year with the Chargers is Jim Harbaugh, former 49ers head coach from 2011 to 2014. It was just really weird how that whole 49ers tenure ended. Obviously, Alex Smith went through a lot with his time in Jim Harbaugh and Singletary and that whole thing. That was just crazy time for the 49ers. But then Jim Harbaugh left the 49ers to many surprises there and went to Michigan, had a phenomenal run in Michigan, obviously coming off a national championship victory over the Washington Huskies. So Jim Harbaugh now back in the NFL doing his thing there. Offensive coordinator for the Chargers, Greg Roman. He was Harbaugh's offensive coordinator in San Francisco from 2011 to 2014. So no surprise that they're reuniting in LA, doing their thing with the Chargers here. Looking at the Chargers total offense, 25th in that category, 31st, second worst pass offense in the NFL. But they do have the 7th best rushing unit in the league. They've got the 3rd best running back in the NFL, statistically speaking, in terms of yardage. But he might really be the best when you look at some of his numbers in detail here, and I'll get into that shortly. But the Chargers are tied 17th with the Colts and the Raiders in points scored per game, scoring 19.3 points per game. Justin Herbert, he's thrown almost 400 yards, 399 yards to be exact. That is 29th in the NFL, usually better than that. 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. The Chargers do a good job of taking care of the football. Herbert's been sacked just four times this year, just like Patrick Mahomes. But, unlike Mahomes' offensive tackles, Herbert has two very good offensive tackles in Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. Unfortunately, all three of those guys for the Chargers I've mentioned so far, Herbert, Slater, and Alt, are all dealing with injuries, a lot of injuries. The Chargers were decimated by injuries in that game last week against the Steelers. So you look at the Chargers right now, you have Justin Herbert, who did practice but was limited. And let me just be sure here what the injury is he's dealing with. It's an ankle injury for Justin Herbert. Joe Alt is dealing with a knee injury. And then their other offensive tackle, Rashawn Slater, is dealing with a pectoral injury. Another offensive lineman they have, Trey Pipkins III, he's dealing with a foot injury. None of those guys practiced. Darius Davis, their kick returner, he's been dealing with a hamstring injury. He was limited in practice. And by the way, keep in mind it's Wednesday, so this can change a lot as the week goes on here. But kind of an alarming start for the Chargers. Khalil Mack did practice, but not injury related, was limited, so no concerns there. But on the defensive side, which we'll get into shortly, Joey Bosa, who is a huge part of that defense, along with Khalil Mack, he's dealing with a hip injury and did not practice. So, I mean, they've got all sorts of injuries left and right with the Chargers here. Whereas with the Chiefs, they have Nick Bolton, Derek Nottie, Rashee Rice, and Jalen Watson listed on the injury report, and all of them were full participants. So the two teams certainly have a lot of differences with injuries. And by the way, don't want to forget the Chargers are dealing with a safety, Derwin James, who's suspended. And I'll get into that shortly as well. But boy, the Chargers are dealing with all kinds of things on their roster. The training staff for the Chargers they've been very busy for sure. But let's continue on here for Justin Herbert. Again, he was limited in practice. I believe the Chargers have a bye week coming up. So there is some talk of Justin Herbert possibly being rested, so that way he can have an extended bye week and just recover, and they can try to move ahead after that bye week, and hopefully Herbert will be 100%. So I don't know how they're going to play this. I mean, this is a divisional game, so I don't see Justin Herbert missing out in this game. I really don't. And if he does play, or if he does re-aggravate that ankle injury in Sunday's game against the Chiefs, Taylor Heinicke is the backup. They also have Easton Stick, who played last year when Herbert was injured. Taylor Heinicke, I like Taylor Heinicke. I didn't realize, by the way, how long he's been in the league. I thought he was like in his mid-20s or something, but I still remember in 2020 when the Commanders played the Buccaneers in the playoffs, Alex Smith was injured, so he could not play in that game. Taylor Heinicke filled in. I actually thought Heinicke did fairly well in that game. So that was I thought he had a good effort in that game. Unfortunately, he just really has not had much of an opportunity since then, and here he is as the backup for the for the Chargers. Easton Stick's been there for a couple of years now, so they've kept him for quite some time now. I did mention their running back J.K. Dobbins, 310 yards, the third most in the NFL, but he's averaging 7.4 yards per carry. He's not carrying the ball a whole lot, and he's averaging 7.4 yards per carry. Only Chase Brown of the Bengals has a 7.4 yard per carry average, and he's only done it off 14 carries. No running back has been able to consistently carry the ball and have a high yard per carry average like J.K. Dobbins does. So J.K. Dobbins is going to be a huge part of the Chargers game plan this Sunday, no question about it. So if you're the Chiefs, and we've seen this Chiefs defense stand up and make some big plays and big moments here, but they've got to be ready for a dogfight, because J.K. Dobbins, I do believe, whether Herbert plays or not, and I think he's going to really be playing through a lot of pain in Sunday's game. I do think the Chargers are going to really utilize J.K. Dobbins in this game. You're going to see him get the ball. I would not be shocked if he got the ball 25 times on the ground alone. I really would not. And I think he can get into a rhythm, and that's where the Chiefs might have a little bit of trouble there. So they've got to be ready for J.K. Dobbins in this football game. He's got 2 touchdowns on the year. I would not be surprised if he had 2 touchdowns in this game. So definitely be ready for that if you are Kansas City's defense. Gus Edwards, the backup running back, 2.9 yards per carry So not as good, but he's a guy who just fills in and gets involved in rotation a little bit. Their wide receivers, nothing too crazy there. They've got Quentin Johnston, who's got 133 yards off 10 catches. Rookie Ladd McConkey also has 10 catches for 109 yards. He's got the most first down receptions for the Chargers. Johnston has 3 touchdowns on the year. McConkey has a touchdown on the season. Their tight ends, Hayden Hurst, their main tight end, he's got 5 catches for 53 yards. Their backup, Will Dissly, he gets involved quite a bit. He's got 61 yards off 7 catches, and he's been targeted 7 times. So every time the Chargers throw in Dissly's direction, he does come away with the football there. So I'd be very curious to see if the Chargers try to utilize more of Dissly in this game, especially given Kansas City struggles against tight ends this year. Both Dissly and Hurst, they've been very quiet this year, but if there was ever time to get going, it would be against Kansas City. Now, I do think Kansas City improved against tight ends this week. Yeah, their tight end had that nice catch last week of, what was it? I think 50 yards. But that was not on the linebackers either. That was on Justin Reed. Kind of had his feet tangled up there and just was a step behind. So outside of that, I thought the Chiefs did a fairly good job of covering the Falcons and their tight ends in that game, not allowing them to go off like they did to the Ravens, and mostly Isaiah Likely, and to so many different tight ends the Bengals had. Wide receiver Josh Palmer, he is injured with an elbow and a calf injury. And like I said, so many injuries across the board for that Chargers team. When you look at their offensive line, Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, they're right now, their status is kind of uncertain for Sunday's game. And I'll tell you right now, if they don't have these 2 guys available, that is going to be a very dangerous situation. You got to hope that the rushing attack is going to be at its best for the Chargers, because if the Chiefs can find a way to stop the run, then you're going to be forcing the Chargers to throw on 2nd and long, 3rd and long situations, and that is where the edge rushers will step up for the Chiefs. George Karlaftis quietly having a good start to his season. You know who else is having a really good start to their season, kind of under the radar? Tershawn Wharton, man. Turk Wharton doing really well. Turk Wharton's a huge reason why the Chiefs got their first interception of the season. Went out there and pressured Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins threw up a hot dog, and it was picked up by the Chiefs. So you got to do more of that. And listen, the Chiefs took advantage of the Falcons and their injuries with the offensive line as the game went on, which, listen, you can't ever apologize for that. So hopefully the Chiefs can do more of that in this game, because you look at their offensive line, Trey Pipkins, the third, he's also dealing with some injuries. He's played some right guard and left tackle, so we don't exactly know what's going to happen with him. Zion Johnson, he's allowed 5 QB pressures, the most on the team. And then Bradley Bozeman, their center, he is the worst rated center by Pro Football Focus. Hasn't done very well run blocking nor pass blocking. So the Chiefs can definitely take advantage of some of the injuries and weaknesses on this offensive line for the Chiefs. So I'm excited to see what this Chiefs defensive line can do. I was expecting them to have a big game against the Bengals. Did not necessarily live up to hype in that one there, but I do think they can step it up and take advantage of what the Chargers have going on right now. You've got to do it, because if you don't take advantage of that, someone's going to. Elaine is asking, I'm considering to attend a game against the Buffalo Bills on November 17th. I'm only 2 hours drive from Buffalo. Is it safe for me to go to the game all in Chiefs gear, or is it maybe dangerous? I've heard nice things about Buffalo fans in the past, but given the fierce rivalry that the Chiefs-Bills rivalry has kind of grown into, I don't know. I mean, listen, people on the internet always act tougher. Listen, I went to Allegiant Stadium and I was surrounded by a bunch of Raiders fans. Guys, I'm not trying to be funny when I say this. Raiders fans are some of the most harmless people in the world, okay? They sound all tough and mean on the internet, but so do a lot of other people. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, hopefully you're with a good group of people, Elena. Hopefully it's not just you. But that'd be cool. I've heard it's a really nice environment in Buffalo for sure. Bob's asking, what is defense against rush and pass yards so far? What is I think you meant, what is our defense against rush and pass yards so far? I know it was near the bottom going into last week. Let me pull that up real quickly, because I looked up the Chargers. I didn't really spend a lot of time looking at the Chiefs here. I do know the Chiefs definitely stepped it up and didn't allow offenses to kind of go crazy like they did the last 2 weeks. So Kansas City is 25th in total defense. They were so a little bit of a step up from the week before, because I think they were like the 5th worst, like 28th in that category. So they've definitely been better about that. But as far as their pass rushing, and one of the better pass rushing units in the NFL, because they've had a lot of different guys. And I see Gwen's comment here. Leo Chenal's been going out there pressuring quarterbacks. Chris Jones, I mean, he's one of the best pass rushing defensive linemen, not just interior defensive linemen, just defensive linemen across the board, including edge rushers. He's been one of the best this year. George Karlaftis is playing well. Turk Wharton doing his thing. So you've had a lot of guys on this defensive line really step up for the Chiefs. So that's why to kind of go back. Sorry about that. That's why to kind of go back to Bob's question. That's why I'm expecting a really big game from the Chiefs defensive line against the Chargers, and they're banged up and weak offensive line that they've got right now. But let's switch over here and talk about the Chargers defense, which does pose some threats here, but could that maybe change with some of the injuries they've got going on? Defensive coordinator Jesse Minter was Michigan's defensive coordinator for the last couple of years, so obviously a connection there with Harbaugh, following him over to LA. 6th in total defense, 10th against the pass, 6th against the run, 3rd in points allowed per game with exactly 11. And they're also one of the better, well, actually, I shouldn't say they're better, but they're one of the mediocre third down defenses, allowing just a little, exactly 4.3 third down conversions per game on average, tying the Vikings, Saints, Jets, Bucks, and your Kansas City Chiefs. So tied 15th with 6 other teams in third down defense here. When you look at the edge rushers, Khalil Mack, you guys all know who Khalil Mack is. He was with the Raiders for quite some time, made his way back to the AFC West after a stint in Chicago. Joey Bosa, he's got a pair of sacks on the season and a forced fumble. In fact, Khalil Mack was the one who recovered that fumble, but Bosa's dealing with that hip injury, did not practice. So his status, we don't really know right now. I do feel like the Chiefs' interior offensive line should be fine against LA's interior defensive line with Tui Pelotu and Fox. I think, when you look at Tooney, Smith, Humphrey, they can handle those guys for sure. But even with a backup, with Joey Bosa out, you got to make sure you limit those. And by the way, if Bosa and Mack are going to be playing, that's definitely something you got. That's why I said last week, I don't think it was that big of a test for Wanya Morris. He had to start somewhere because he was a rookie last year, made that transition to a second season. And I thought he looked very good last week against the Falcons. But, he's going to have a tougher test this week. And I'm sure if Bosa's not playing, that the Chargers will try to mix things up and have Mack line up on both sides to try to challenge Wanya Morris. A younger guy compared to Jawan Taylor. So certainly it would make sense to have Mack challenge a younger guy and try to get to Patrick Mahomes. That is how you beat elite quarterbacks in the NFL. So we'll see what the Chiefs want to do with that. They used Kingsley Suamataia a couple of times in he was an eligible receiver that would come in as a blocker. So would not surprise me if we saw Morris and Kingsley kind of team up on Bosa and or Mack, depending on the situation, where they try to line them up in different snaps. Would not surprise me one bit. Their linebacker, Deion Henley, one of the better linebackers in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus, to start the 2024 season. I mentioned Derwin James. He is suspended for his helmet-to-helmet hit. It's actually a repeat violation. He did appeal it. It was upheld. So he will not play this Sunday against the Chiefs. And let me just make a quick note of this here. I do commend the NFL for this. Oh, Farzine, you're saying that because they're playing the Chiefs. No. I've been calling for this for quite some time. I feel like in the NFL, when you talk about player safety and all these things that are going on, we're seeing a lot of players get away with helmet-to-helmet hits. And the NFL needs to be more strict about this. They need to either fine or suspend players for this, or both. And now you're seeing them do that. And the NFL is very strict on a lot of things this year, especially with certain celebrations. I know Yoshi Vosh was fined for his for his bow and arrow celebration, which Travis Kelce's done that before. I know Joe Burrow's done that before as well in the past. But I think, they're being a lot more strict about these things. I mean, bow and arrow, I don't know, man. If you're doing the hand gun gesture, okay, I can kind of see that one. Xavier Worthy got hit with that one a couple of weeks ago. Drake London, he was doing like a machine gun celebration after a touchdown catch, which I thought was interesting. But the NFL is just a lot more strict on certain things this year. So you just got to be more aware of that. Listen, coaches know this. They don't just make these rules and not announce them. So coaches know this, and it's the coach's responsibility to tell their players this. So surely Derwin James was aware of this coming into the season. And I get it. Sometimes you just, in the moment, you don't think twice about it. And in the moment you slip, whatever, you just lean with your head. But that's why you have OTAs, training camp, and preseason games. So that way you go over these things and don't let them happen in the regular season. So it is a deserved suspension as far as I'm concerned. Let's see who else on the defense worth noting here. So they've got a couple of really good defensive backs here in safety. Elijah Molden, very good cover safety, former Titan, first year with LA. Another former Titan and first year with LA was Christian Fulton, cornerback for the Chargers. In fact, let me just make sure. I believe he is on the injury report as well. I thought I saw something about Christian Fulton dealing with something, but I can't find it. Oh, never mind. There it is. He had a knee injury, but he did practice. He was limited in practice. So Christian, again, long list of injuries for the Chargers this week, but kind of makes you wonder if Patrick Mahomes is going to pick on their safety Alohi Gilman and their cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. Certainly would make sense because those guys are kind of below average defensive backs. Maybe shy away from Molden and Fulton and try to attack Gilman and Samuel. And I'd be very curious to see what the matchups are going to look like when you see Juju Smith-Schuster, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, when they're all lined up, and which defensive personnel you'll see matched up against those players there. I'd be very curious to see how that's going to look for the Chiefs and the Chargers in that game this Sunday. Special teams, Ryan Ficken played at ASU, coached briefly at UCLA. Then he coached in Minnesota for a very long time, from 2007 to 2021. So a decade and a half, essentially, coaching running backs, wide receivers, and then eventually special teams for the Vikings. And now has made his way over to LA. He's been there a couple of years now, coaching special teams. Cameron Dicker the kicker. He's made all 6 field goals, longest from 53 yards. J.K. Scott, bottom tier punter when it comes to total average and net average punting. And then their return specialist, wide receiver Darius Davis, who's been dealing with an injury also. He's been handling all of the return duties, which, isn't saying much because the return game has just changed so much in the NFL now. It's just not as exciting and big as it once used to be, but he is the one who handles all of that for the Chargers. If he is not ready to go, who is their backup going to be? Oh, Ladd McConkey, the rookie wide receiver. So I believe he went to Oregon. So yeah, that's who their backup return specialist is. So there we have it. That is the LA Chargers in a nutshell here. What is my score prediction for this one? It all goes. All of these games have been very close. And I've kind of wondered, are we going to have another close game? Are the Chiefs going to underestimate the Chargers? Hopefully not. I don't think an Andy Reid-led team does that. Or do the Chargers do some things that kind of surprise us? Do they rely on their running game, and specifically with Dobbins? And does he maybe have a bigger game than maybe a lot of us would expect? And maybe that can help make the game close. I'm not sure. I do think the Chiefs will come through in this one here. I think if the Chiefs can find a way to stop the run, and they were able to do that successfully against Derrick Henry, then I think what's the point difference? 7.5. It was 8 earlier in the week on DraftKings, but it's 7.5. Here's my thing. I think the Chiefs will come away with some key stops against the run in the second half of this game. And if you do that, you're going to be forcing Justin Herbert or Taylor Heineke, whoever's going to be the quarterback, you're going to force them to essentially throw in second and long, third and long situations. And that's not going to bode well for the Chargers, because there's a possibility they might play without both of their offensive tackles, both who have been playing like all pros the first couple of weeks. Alt, obviously the rookie, the son of former Chief John Alt. But man, that is just a and by the way, give me your score predictions for those of you who are watching live. Let me know what your score prediction is here. I've kind of gone all over the place with this one. I'm not expecting a blowout, but I do think the Chiefs can kind of put them away in the second half. It'd be nice to see the Chiefs put a team away. They've had opportunities to do so against the Falcons and also against the Ravens. So I'd like to see them do that in this game. I'm gonna go 23-13 in this one. I think you'll see the Chargers move the ball a lot, but I think they'll take risks in certain situations here and try to not go for field goals and try to convert on fourth down. Chiefs were very good on third and fourth down last week. 3 of 12 conversions allowed on third and fourth down attempts combined by the Falcons. So the Chiefs defense really stood strong. They looked garbage on that opening drive against the Falcons. I kind of wondered, I'm like, oh no, the Chiefs look horrible to start off the game, but man, the Chiefs really turned things around. And look, I know there's a lot of debate about the roughing the passer. I know I've kind of, I don't really agree with a lot of the people out there, but there are a lot of people who feel like that if that roughing the passer was not thrown, correctly not thrown, then they don't get a touchdown on that drive, because that was on third down. They were going to punt if that flag was not thrown. So understand those opportunities, but that's just the way things work. It's been a talking point. No, the referees. So there you go. But yeah, I'm going to go. What's my final score? I'll go 24. I'll go 24-13. That is my score prediction for this one. I said 23, but that just sounds a little weird. So I'm going to go 24-13. Kansas City wins on the road. Let me read your guys' score predictions real quickly here. Corey says 34-24. Bob says 24-17. 27-20 from Gwen. 31-17 from Robert. I believe the Chiefs and Chargers had a game last year that was 31-17. Mickey says 24-17. Bob says Patty and Travis going to have a game, and Daryl says 27-21. Okay, so a lot of you guys are expecting another close one here. So a couple of people, yes, Stan, I see yours 35-20. I see a couple of people who think it might be a 2-possession game or a little one-sided. So I see you guys. So a lot of I think we're all in agreement. A lot of agreements here in terms of what the score could be in terms of the point differential there. All right, I'll leave you guys with that. My name is Farzin Vousoughian. Thank you guys for joining me for this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. A reminder, we will have the Red Friday live chat for you this Friday evening, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you guys are following, have the notifications on, all of that good stuff there. And a reminder, for Sunday, 11 a.m. Central Time, we will do the pregame live chat. We will do it before all of the other games kick off. So make sure you guys join me 11 a.m. Central Time for the pregame live chat. Join me at halftime during the game. We will do our halftime live stream. It'll be very brief, of course, given that it's halftime. And then after the game, we will do the Chiefs Zone podcast live. We will stream it live on Facebook and on YouTube and also on Instagram. And we'll have the links for you guys to call in. Appreciate all of you guys who have been calling in to the post-game shows. Let's keep that going. Let's do it again this game as well. So look forward to doing all of that with you guys. Once again, I'm Farzin Vousoughian. Thank you for subscribing, following along. Share it with a friend. Tell a friend about the podcast. Until then, I'll talk to you all later. I'm out. Peace.